If you guys look in your binders, you will find there are several recipes in there. We're not going to demonstrate every one of them today. But if you page toward the back, you will find a 1-week dinner ideas list. So this would set you up with basically a meal plan for 1 week for supper ideas or dinner ideas for your family. So many of those recipes are included in this handout, and we will be highlighting some of those today. So we're going to start with the simple lentil soup. So if you want to follow along with me, you sure can. So I'm going to have to do this over by the stove, but so first of all, we're going to get a pan ready. Turning it on around medium high. I like to start with a little bit of olive oil in the pan. Onions. And one thing I learned about onions recently is that quercetin is actually extracted from onions. Quercetin has been recently used for helping to treat COVID. So I found that very interesting. And then we're going to use some garlic. And this has antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory. It's really anti a lot of things. So it's really good for you. You can either use minced garlic or you can chop your own. We're going to use some carrots. These are a great source of vitamin A. Get this simmering. And some celery. This is also anti-inflammatory. It has 25 plus anti-inflammatory agents in it. It doesn't just get stuck in your tongue. But it might do that too. And then one thing that I love to add to this recipe is green chilies. And these aren't super spicy, they're more medium heat. And they're a good source of iron and they just give the soup a really wonderful flavor. We'll get that going, and then we will add some rinsed lentils. Now you can use either green or brown, you can even use red lentils, but they would have a little different consistency to them. They don't pull together as well. You could also use black lentils, those are really yummy too. But you'll want to make sure and rinse them. These have already been rinsed. And we'll add these. Then we are going to add 4 cups of water, or more if needed. You kind of just watch and see if it gets like it's looking a little dry. One thing I love about lentils is that they're a great legume, but they don't take forever to cook. came to the United States around 1600, the early 1600s, and around World War II, they actually used them for a high-protein meat substitute because it was cheap and available. So they were able to use that in that era when they were more pressed for having good things to eat. Okay, so we're going to let that cook a little bit. We're going to add some cumin. To taste. Some chili powder. Not a whole lot. Garlic and onion. And some tomatoes. I love to use home canned tomatoes, but you can just buy them from the store too. Does anyone have any questions? We don't have to wait till the end.
Well, you're shaking quite a bit in there. How do we know how much?
That's a good question. I put on there a guide of, I guess I did. Probably around a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon of chili powder, probably. You don't want to get too much of that one. Any other questions? We're going to let this simmer and cook for a little while. I'm going to add the Lowry's later because I don't want the salt to prevent the lentils from cooking. And so we've got everything in there. We're going to let that cook for a little while. I'm going to hand this off to you. And then we are going to start in on some roasted vegetables. So for this recipe, you can use it as a side, or you can serve it as a whole meal to add plenty to it. So one wonderful thing about this recipe is that you can add what vegetables you like. You can add in sweet potatoes, white potatoes. So I have some sweet potatoes here today. You want to cut them in chunks, not too big because you want them to be able to cook in plenty of time. We have also some cauliflower. Gotta find my page here. And cauliflower is a great source of choline. It's a wonderful cruciferous vegetable. And the choline is actually important for having a healthy nervous system, so it helps also prevent Alzheimer's disease, which is wonderful. So that's a good plus about cauliflower. We also have some artichokes here. I just bought them in water, packaged like on the shelf, and then you just drain the water. Now artichokes are pretty cool because they're actually an immature flower bud of the thistle plant, and they're from the aster family. So it's kind of fun that they're this one. And then I have some chickpeas here. You can add these for a punch of protein in your roasted vegetables to give it a little more substance. You can add some mushrooms if you like them. If you don't, you can leave them out. And some onions. So then you'll stir all this together. And then I like to toss this with some olive oil. You can either use just drizzle some over it, or you can use this olive oil spray. It works pretty well. And just toss it. Thank you. could also add broccoli to this. You could use, in the summertime, add summer squash or zucchini. Roasted kale is also wonderful, but you would need to put that on for only like 5 minutes at the end because it cooks really fast. But it's wonderful. And then I like to just sprinkle on some Lowry's or salt, some garlic and onion powder. Those are staples in our house. And just toss it together. Add a little bit more. Thank you. And then we'll put this on a sprayed pan. Preferably one with sides. That would work better in your house, but right.
Would it still work if you didn't do the oil at all?
I think it's probably would. They wouldn't get as crispy. That's why I like to use this one because you can kind of judge and not put too much oil on it. Any other questions? Okay. And then you can bake these at 400 to 450 for 45 to 60 minutes. Which one did you have in one? So those are our roasted vegetables. You can serve those as a side or as a main dish. We're going to make a sauce that is really wonderful with roasted vegetables too. So we'll show you that in a little bit here. Yes. What's that, Margaret?
You made such a big quantity, it says 1 can and so it's in the chicken. You
Yes.
have to cut these down quite a bit.
You sure could.
You cut down all the other vegetables and all those ham things would be, and use like burger ham.
Yes, you sure could do that too. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a very good question. Very good question. The next recipe we're going to make, you have to bring the food. We are going to make a sandwich today. We're going to make some oat burgers for the sandwich, but the oat burgers you can use for many different things. You can put a cashew gravy over them and have them as a casserole. You could have them as a burger sandwich. You could have them just as a patty on as a main dish without bread. But we are going to have them in a pita bread sandwich today. Now, I made pita bread for everyone today, but you wouldn't have to make it. You could buy it from the store, get a whole grain option, and pick that up if you wanted something a little simpler. I'm not going to demonstrate the pita pocket recipe, but they're really yummy if you're feeling ambitious. So this is what they look like. I used a wheat Montana wheat. It's white whole wheat flour, so it's whole wheat. It's unbrominated, so that's a good thing. And it's also non-GMO, so it's great to use wonderful flours when you bake. But you wouldn't have to make them from scratch. They're a little labor intensive, but they sure are yummy. So, with that, we'll start working on making our filling for our pita pockets. We're going to make the Oat Burger Recipe, so if you want to turn there, they're in alphabetical order. So this one, we start with some on the stove. Thank you. So we're going to start with 3 cups of water. Is it warming up out there at all?
A little bit.
A little bit? Yeah. we're going to simmer this. Try to find the right element here. We're going to add a 1/4 cup of Bragg's liquid aminos, or you could use a soy sauce. Bragg's is an alternative for soy sauce. It's gluten-free and it's a little bit healthier option, but you could use soy sauce. We'll put that in our pan. And then we will put in some beef seasoning. It's a vegetarian beef-like seasoning, I should call it. Gotta find which one it's in.
Do you make your own beef seasoning or do you purchase it?
I purchase it, but you can make it also. We'll put that in. I know there are recipes that you could make it. We're going to add some Italian seasoning. This gives it a nice flavor. And then we'll add some garlic powder, onion powder, and salt. As well as some nutritional yeast flakes. These give things a nice cheesy flavor, cheesy-like flavor, but it also gives it just a yummy, savory flavor to our patties. And then we're going to add in some, you can either use onion flakes, like dried minced onion, or diced onion. So I have diced onion today. We will get this simmering. This is one of our favorite recipes at home. We like them on burgers, and just like them on a piece of toast. They're really yummy. So we will have that simmer for a few minutes, and then we will add in our oats and our walnuts. So walnuts are a great nut. Nuts in general are just very, very nutritious for us to eat in moderation. Walnuts especially are great for brain health. They help because of their omega-3 fatty acids. They're very beneficial in development, very important for brain health. And they're great for if you're feeling a little of those winter blues. Be helpful for that too. I'm gonna check on this. So we will prepare our pan for when we bake them.
Yes. And I think it's out there somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Who has the small scoop?
Someone has a small cookie scoop. Wonderful. So you can either use the large one, if
Another one bigger?
if you're wanting to make like for a burger or a patty. So this would be if you're wanting to make for like a sandwich patty, or you can use a small cookie scoop that I'll use today if you're wanting to fill like pita pockets, because it's a little hard to put a big patty in your pita pocket, but you could. So those are the different options. That's okay. You can just wash it. While that is simmering, we will go on and look at our creamy tzatziki sauce. So that's the TZ word. It's hard to, a word that's interestingly spelled. This is a yummy sauce, and you can serve serve on your pita pockets. You could serve with your roasted vegetables. You could use it as a dip. There's so many different things that you could use it for. Thank you. I'm going to grab our blender here. And we have a Vitamix, which is an excellent investment. There's other high-powered blenders out there that are good too, but I'm really grateful for the Vitamix. It gets things very creamy.
What is the general flavor of the seafood sauce?
So it's kind of Mediterranean or Greek. It has like dill and cucumber and onion in it. It's just really light but creamy too. It's very tasty and yummy.
How long does it stay good in the refrigerator?
You know, that's a good question. Do you know, Grandma? A long time?
Couple of weeks maybe.
She's the one who brought me the recipe and I was like, I have to share it. It's so yummy.
So it just doesn't stay very long in your refrigerator because everybody eats it up, right?
It's eaten up, doesn't it?
Gone, okay.
Yes, it's a yummy one.
And how much does this make, this recipe here?
So this recipe would make probably for 4 people-ish, 4 servings. It depends on how much sauce you like.
Oh, okay.
So, here we go. So we're going to use 1 cup of cashews. These have been soaking in hot water. It just helps soften them. So I'm going to rinse them. Make them a little more creamy. And these are the raw cashews. Put those in our blender. We're going to add 1 cup of water. And preferably you want cold water for this recipe. Then we're going to add some lemon juice, 1 tablespoon. The lemon gives it a really yummy flavor. You could use fresh squeezed lemon juice, or you can just use the kind that comes from the store. And then some apple cider vinegar. This gives it a good flavor. If you don't want the vinegar, just add extra lemon juice. So that would be a way to not use the vinegar. And if you're wondering, this is a half tablespoon. If you're wondering why I'm putting 2 in. And then we will add some salt to taste, as well as, yes, some salt to taste. I'm going to grab the salt. Oh, yeah. Sorry. So this is the pink salt. It's a great alternative to just regular sea salt. It has lots of other vitamins and minerals in it as well, so it's a great way to improve your...
Where do you buy stuff like that?
So you can get this at Walmart, or you can also, they have it out in the Amish as well.
Is that Himalayan?
It's off the main strip across from Sonic.
Oh, here ain't one?
Yeah, they have bulk stuff over there.
And then we're going to blend this, so cover your ears. you're going to add in some chopped red onions. I used a little chopper, so that made it really easy to make it just nice and small. You don't want big onion chunks in there. If you don't like onion, you don't have to add it.
You want to definitely use red onion in it, or?
You could use white onion, the red just makes it pretty.
Oh,
And then you're gonna add in some chopped cucumber. I also used the little chopper to make it really nice and fine. And then we will add in some dill weed. You could use fresh, but I just have dried here. You can also get this in bulk out at the Amish, which is really nice. And then you will just lightly blend this just to get it combined. There we go. And then if you wanted it a little bit thinner consistency, you could add extra water to it, but I think that this is the consistency I wanted at. So if you wanted it a little thinner, you sure could. Would you grab me a bowl? Oh, that's fine. Here, we go in there. Thank you.
This is ready to add.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, we will do that. That'd be fine. We will pour this into our bowl. And this will make a great sauce and dressing for our pita pockets or for our roasted vegetables. Either one. So we are going to revisit our oat burgers. They have now been simmering. Thank you. We're going to remove them from the heat. We're now going to add in our oats. You can use quick oats, rolled oats, either one works. The quick oats tend to help them hold together a little bit better. We're going to use in some of our wonderful walnuts. You could also do chopped pecans.
one thing I found about Oat Burgers is they freeze very
They
well.
do, they really do.
So if you make a larger batch,
Yes.
then you can eat.
Yes, just stick them in the freezer and then you can pull them out whenever you need them. Yes. Thank you. So you're gonna stir this. Till it's nice and combined. You can even let it sit for a few minutes if you want it to make sure not be too runny. But with the quick oats, it goes pretty fast. And then we're going to use our small scoop today. Pita pockets. Put these on a sprayed pan. And we'll bake them at 350 to 375 if you're in a pinch. You probably know those tricks. We're hungry!
The recipe says until brown on both sides, you have to flip them.
I like to flip them. Usually I cook them for about 30 minutes, so I set the timer for 15, have them bake, and then pull them out at 15 minutes, flip them and smush them down. And then that way they'll get nice and brown on both sides. You can also do them in a skillet with a little bit of oil if you don't have time to put them in the oven per se. That would be also a way that you could get them cooked and ready to serve. Alright, so these are ready to pop in the oven. Pass them to you.
So you don't flatten them until they bake?
I don't flatten them until they cooked on one side, and then you just scoop them up and then smash them down. They'll stick to your spatula if you try to do it now. I'll just take it. That's one of the little tricks that we have. So the next thing we're going to talk about is some sprouts. So if you want to turn to the page, it's called Homemade Sprouts. They're homegrown, I should say. So for this, it's so exciting because this time of year, I get an itch to grow things. Well, you can't really go outside and grow things. But you can buy alfalfa seeds from like Natural Grocers or online or Whole Foods or something like that. And you can buy the seeds and you can use a mason jar. You'll put 2 tablespoons of alfalfa seeds in your mason jar. And then there are different screens that are made. You can start with a small one, an even smaller one than this, to keep the alfalfa seeds from coming out of your jar. And then as they grow, you can then change the lids. But what you would first do is take your 2 tablespoons of alfalfa seeds, put them in their jar, put your lid on, and then you would cover them with water and let them soak overnight. That way they start their germination process. And then in the morning, you drain off the water, invert your jar over another pan so that the water can fully drain out throughout the day. And then when you come home in the evening, you'll rinse your sprouts, put them back there, and you'll repeat that a couple days, morning and evening, rinsing your sprouts until they're grown to your desired length. So I will show you some sprouts that we've made today. Well, we have some alfalfa sprouts. We have some radish sprouts. And we have some lentil sprouts. So these lentil sprouts, you can get lentils, you typically cook them, which you can cook the lentil sprouts, but you can also eat these raw. Not all beans can you sprout and eat raw, but the lentils you are able to do that. So that's one easy way to get some good nutrition, especially in the winter months. The sprouts are power-packed with nutrition, and they're excellent for you. You can add them to salads, you can add them to sandwiches, different things like that. Or you can even cook them.
Put them in smoothies too.
Smoothies, that's a great idea too. Does anyone have questions about sprouting?
What beans are not okay to sprout?
Especially kidney beans. Kidney beans you do not want to eat raw anyway.
Okay.
I think you could still sprout them and cook them, but you would not want to eat them raw.
Something that we found too, you do not want to put them directly in sunlight.
Yes, yes.
No question.
In direct light.
They'll go bad. You want them somewhere where sun doesn't get it.
So the only time that you actually cover them in water is when they're germinating? And
Yes,
then you,
yeah.
every time that you rinse them,
You invert the jar so that it can fully, you drain it out, but you aren't able to get everything out. So you put it in another Tupperware or other container that will catch the water. And it's pretty exciting to watch them grow. I was home the other day while they were growing. I was like, I hope these sprouts are going to be ready. And so I kept like checking them, and it was amazing how quickly they grow. Even throughout the few hours I was home, I was like, wow, they've grown so much since I came home. It's amazing. So they're really yummy. You can also do broccoli sprouts. They're a little bit more finicky to keep from going bad, but they can also be a good challenge. So, any other questions? Yes?
So once you have them at that stage, do you rinse them still, or how long do they keep?
So they would probably keep a few days to maybe a week in your fridge. I was reading online and they said that they will keep a little longer and better if you continue rinsing them while in the fridge because they're still growing in the fridge just at a slower rate. So, yes.
So is this 2 tablespoons usually?
No, no. This one was 6, I think. Yeah, because I did 3 jars.
Yeah.
And then this was 4, I think. And this, I don't remember.
So the lentils, are they just like out of a regular lentil package you can sprout for?
You can, it's good if your lentils aren't too old,
Okay.
because then they won't sprout. These you'll see, I used actually a mixture of 3 lentils. There are red lentils, regular brown or green, whatever you want to call them, and then black lentils. The black ones are the smaller ones.
When
So
you cook them, is it the same rate as lentils that are not sprouted?
I am not sure on that. That's a good question. I would imagine that they would cook faster since they're already softened. So this is, I love sprouts. They're so yummy. So, any other questions? Yes, Mary?
I don't have, this is not a question, but for the oatmeal burgers,
Yes.
I don't heat my liquid, I put it cold and I like to put it in the fridge overnight.
Oh, okay.
And I take you can use any kind of lid you want, and you press it in there and then dump it out and it looks round. I've had people ask me, where do you buy those? I don't, yes you do, with a round, it's pretty, you know, you can use different size lids.
Oh, very good. Okay.
That's very good.
Yeah, that's
Use a
great.
canning ring with a lid, then when it comes out, it's flat and you can
Sure.
peel the canning lid off like she's talking
Yeah,
about.
that would work too. That would work too. Very good. Any other questions? All right. We're gonna set these back in the fridge.
Would one seed do very much?
1 seed? That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Sprout.
One tablespoon would probably get you about half a jar full of sprouts. So for our family, when we're all home, we like to do probably 2 tablespoons. So we have extra, we eat them up though, I mean,
They go
they're
pretty
so
fast.
good.
Okay, when you were saying 6 now, I had said 6 seeds, you were
Oh,
talking
no, 6 tablespoons. Yes, yes. 6 tablespoons. Then we are going to move on if there aren't any more questions. We're going to do some no-bake cookies. So we can turn there. No-bake cookies typically have lots of sugar in them, but they're really yummy, aren't they? So this is a more whole foods, plant-based no-bake cookie recipe. So we will start in on them. We're going to grab a saucepan. Go ahead and turn it on here. We're going to add in some maple syrup.
This is pure maple syrup, this isn't,
Yes,
this is whatever.
yes, this is pure maple syrup. We're going to add some almond milk. You could also use soy milk or oat, well, maybe not oat milk. That tends to thicken. I'm not sure how oat milk would work. But cashew milk, almond milk, soy milk. And then we are going to add in our carob powder. I have written on there cocoa powder could be used also, but carob powder is a great option in order to avoid the caffeine that's in cocoa powder. Thank you. has twice the calcium in it compared to cocoa powder. And it's also caffeine and fat-free. It has a little bit sweeter taste in comparison to cocoa. It is more distinct and it is different than cocoa, but it has a pretty good flavor. So we're going to stir this together, heating it over the stove.
Do you use a particular kind of peanut butter or commercial can be really sticky or?
My favorite is the Smucker's natural peanut butter, but you could use a different kind too. Chunky peanut butter would be really good in it, but they didn't have a big chunky peanut butter, so I got creamy. Creamy works, chunky works, either one. If you don't like peanut butter, you could add an almond butter or another nut butter. Or if you have an allergy.
Those of you who've used carrot, where do you buy your carrot? Because carrot, I don't think you can buy it at Walmart.
Natural grocers has it.
Okay. So a specialty food store like Natural Grocers or Clover's in Columbia. We have Country Life, you can order it from.
The
Almond
almond
types have carried, but I didn't know that they carried the powder. They have chips, but I've never seen them carry the powder.
I think it's
At Amish? I think it's been the chips.
okay.
I've always seen the chips.
I thought Southside has it.
Oh, carrot powder?
Because yeah. So you want to get this to boiling on the stove. We're getting there. Oh, thank you.
One thing I found with carrot,
Yes.
if you don't like the flavor of carrot,
Yeah.
like me, the frosting, that when I thought inside, that it tastes exactly like chocolate if you put,
Really?
date paste in it.
Peat paste, okay.
But it takes away that different flavor, and I think it's very, very much flavor.
Really?
Or just make your own, just take dates and
Yeah.
put them on.
Something else we've noticed with the chips, carrot chips, the sweetened are just so much better. The unsweetened are just, it's just hard to eat. And a lot of people who eat those, I don't like carrot because
Right.
it's just bitter kind of
Bitter and
taste.
strong.
So it does, like the date
The date
paste
paste
probably.
takes away the bitterness of the carrot.
Mhm. I find even in these cookies with the peanut butter, it kind of helps neutralize it.
And we make a Rice Krispie bar with the chocolate like it used to be with carob, and you can't tell, but we put rice syrup with it, brown rice syrup, so the sweetener. Yeah.
Has anyone else experimented with carob? Yeah.
Carob is good in smoothies, like a banana, frozen banana and peanut butter.
It
and
is,
syrup.
you're right. Very yummy. So these cookies are fun because you don't have to bake them. All you have to do is stir.
Also, going back to the sprouts, if you have kids, they love sprouting usually. They love watching those sprouts. You have kids.
Yeah.
in sprouting.
I remember growing up, back when we lived in Lincoln, my mom taught me kindergarten. And we did a science experiment. It was just growing the beans, but it wasn't for sprouting. But we sprouted the beans, but it was fall time. And she said we had to throw them away. And I was just, this was awful. We had to throw them away. I felt so sorry for my bean sprouts.
They work so hard.
I didn't quite realize that they would die anyway. It was terrible.
I started her love of gardening, I guess, clear back when.
I guess so.
She's a great gardener.
We're gonna add in our peanut butter to our mixture here. We will stir that in and get it all nice and melted. And then we're going to add in our vanilla. Gives it a yummy flavor. And then we're going to add in our quick oats. You can also use rolled oats. Quick oats, again, hold together a little bit better. And then unsweetened coconut. You can actually find this at Walmart, so you don't have to have the added sugar. And then we will stir this together till it's nice and combined. And then we will again use our small cookie scoop. These for the patties.
Can you hold the pan up so we can see what it looks like?
Yeah, of course. And as it sits, it kind of changes a little bit, but this is what it looks like. And then we're going to use our scoop. And you can either put it on wax paper or parchment paper or just on a plate is fine too. And you'll scoop them out. If it's nice and cool, like this time of year in your house, you can just have them sit on the counter to harden. Or if it's July, you might want to put them in the fridge. These are a great thing to make if you're in a pinch and need a dessert to share with someone. You don't have to bake them, they're pretty fast. And they don't have refined sugar in them, so that's a plus too. And they're gluten-free. Lots of good things.
If you were to store them, to make sure that they get eaten very, very quickly, if you were to store them, what's the best way to store them?
I would think putting in, if you're going for long term, I would put them in the freezer.
Okay. Short term, are they okay to just leave out, or do we put them in the refrigerator?
I would say probably keeping them in the fridge would be the best. Especially if you're in those summer months.
Yeah.
So there we go. There's our cookies.
Can you do that again? Photo op. Good, your paparazzi over here. I'll be sending these to you guys.
Sounds good. All right. That is our last recipe that we're going to demonstrate today. We're going to move on to our drawing. But before then, does anyone have any questions about the recipes that we've gone over today? back, there's a grain cooking chart. So if you were wanting to make a side of rice or quinoa to go with either your roasted vegetables or something like that, you could just come here and look up on the chart how much water you would need for 1 cup of a dry, and then how long it would cook for, and then how much it would make. So that's a good resource for you. And then following that, there's an explanation of all your grains. If there's some on there that you're not familiar with, this gives you a quick, brief summary of what the various grains are and some of where they come from. So it's a good place if you have an inquisitive mind. And then following there, I've also included a legume cooking chart. This has like your black beans, your chickpeas, garbanzo beans. If you wanted to cook these from scratch, now you can buy them from the store in a can, but if you wanted to make a larger batch or save a little money, it's a little cheaper to cook them from scratch. This would also be a good resource for you for the ratios of how much water and how long it will cook for.
Are these ratios the same if you were doing Instapot?
I don't know about that. Do you know, Martha?
For the water.
Yeah.
Or the times.
Probably
Yeah,
good.
the times aren't gonna be the same,
But the water would be.
Yeah, the
Okay.
water should be.
Okay.
It's close.
Okay. And crock pot is an excellent thing if you're making beans, because you can just start it in the morning, have them cook on low all day, and then they're ready for you at night. So that's a great option too. And the Instapot is great too, because that's nice and fast. So, any questions about all of those?
Yeah, on the water, as long as the pots are covered,
Okay.
and they're not open boiling pots, because then you're gonna.
Right, it's gonna boil off. Yep, yep, yes. As long as they're covered, it keeps all the water in. Okay. So you all,
Do you always want to soak your beans?
soaking helps them become more digestible, but to be honest with you, I don't always soak them. But you want to soak them, Martha says.
And then you rinse them off and use fresh water?
Yes, you want to rinse the water off and add fresh.
There's actually lignins in the beans that get cooked off and go out, you wanna rinse them, that's why, because it dumps them off.
Dumps.
It'll be actually easier to digest and it's easier on your bones and your joints and every other part of your body to have them soaked.
That makes
A
sense.
minimum of overnight is possible.
Overnight, okay. So that's a great thing to remember. We're gonna go ahead and do our drawing. We have several things in here for your kitchen. We're gonna draw. We've got a nice cookbook in here. It's got lots of colorful pictures in it.
First of all, did we get everybody's name in?
Yes, did we?
I think so. Okay.
Okay, it's a beautiful cookbook. It has lots of pictures, which I love. So we're gonna draw for the cookbook.
Judy.
There you go. We have another small cookbook with great pictures in it too. Has Bible verses. We're gonna draw for the cookbook.
Karma.
You're welcome.
We have some wonderful walnuts for our brain health.
Norman.
Next, we have some green lentils, so you can go home and make soup.
Or sprouts?
Or sprouts.
Sandy.
Yes.
mason jar lid over it. I did some of that because I didn't have enough grains. We're gonna do unsweetened coconut.
Handy hose work too.
I was gonna say that. Angie.
Just wash
And make cookies.
That I will use.
Okay, we have a spatula.
These are really
This
handy.
is a really nice one.
Carrie.
Okay, an oven mitt for our burgers.
Rebecca.
We have some wonderful knives. We have 4 of them, so we're gonna draw 4 names.
Martha got us going on these.
They're so nice.
I love those.
They work
We
so
call them
well.
the Subway knives, but I think at Subway they use a little bit bigger ones, but these are wonderful, wonderful knives. They're sharp, so
They
you
used to be
careful.
like Subway's knives, but they got a different kind.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, that used to be what they always.
She got us going on these, and they're wonderful
They
knives.
work really well.
You have to order them online.
We're
But
gonna,
they're not that expensive. You get like a whole bunch. What did we get? 15 or 18 or something?
yeah, several.
For about $30. So they're not.
They're nice.
What do they call
Dale, they are fixed well, and I think it's a German knife. Fixed well. It's the knife. Dale.
Be careful with them, they will cut your fingers.
Thank
They are
you.
very sharp.
They come with a
You're
package.
right. I'm gonna have to hold it for you.
We can do 3.
Jennifer. Brenda. And Martha.
So Martha, Jennifer, and Brenda. Sure is Brenda? Brenda. There you go. You're welcome. Okay, we have some more spatulas. We have 3 orange spatulas.
Sarah.
Okay.
Kayla. Beth.
And cigarette. Got a few more goodies in here. We have a nice potato peeler.
Wayne.
Nice. She's gonna put you to work. We have a little hand towel for your kitchen.
Milton.
Try dishes.
So you can help Karma.
She's shaking her head.
We have a hot pad.
Margaret.
And we have a cookie scoop.
Lorna.
Yay! All right. That is the end of our drawing. Well, thank you all for coming. It's been wonderful sharing recipes with you. If you all have any other questions at the end, or if you have anything you would like to run by me afterwards, feel free to touch me. We'll close with a yes.
Those screens, like we all talked about cheesecloth and stuff, but if you do want to get like factory set, where you buy them?
I would imagine you could order them on Amazon. Martha, do you know any good places to get them?
I think I ordered some of mine off of
Okay.
Amazon years ago. I'm sure they have a variety of options on there.
Yeah.
Take a look at most
So-
thing.
Besides like a mason jar, or if you wanted to do like a, is there like some kind of bigger, like a cookie jar or something you could make them in, like a, instead of having to go through and do a bunch of.
Right.
They have sprouters online if you want to order bigger ones. I just ordered one that is a 4-tier.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's
That's
cool.
what I-
Water that goes through, so you
You
don't have
water
to
it
do
on
the
the top
rinse.
and it goes all over.
Yeah.
Yes, Dale?
Something we do at our house, I don't know if it's wrong or not, but use fiberglass window screen and a mason jar ring. You just
Okay.
climb it over and tighten it up, and it's just
Neat.
fact we live on the cheap, I guess.
That's an option. Very good. Yes.
That works good.
All right, well, we will get lunch out, and then we will, should we pray, can the kids come in? We will have the blessing for the food when the,
Please stay to eat.
yes, please
We'll
stay
try
and eat,
everything.
and we will be able to sample everything. Yes, Angie?
With the roasted vegetables, of course, I wasn't here when I saw it, so did you do mushrooms in that?
I did.
Okay, how do you clean the mushrooms? Did you know how to do that? And I'm just asking you something that you've already explained.
No, I did not. I just washed them with water. Wash them, get the dirt off. A little bit of dirt. And to be honest, how I wash them is he washed them for me today.
So do you individually take them and inspect them, or do you just run them through a colander, or how do you do it?
I individually washed them because it was a large group, but at home, I think frequently we'll just kind of quickly wash them through a colander. And kinda-
No, I do
typically
individual.
wash them individually.
Do your assistants hire out?
Oh, I don't know, but I could part with them.